It was supposed to be a fairy tale comeback, a nostalgic live-action reboot of one of Disney's most iconic classics, headlined by rising star Rachel Zegler and beloved superstar Gal Gadot. But instead of capturing hearts and box office glory, Disney's Snow White found itself drowning in one controversy after another, casting drama, tone-deaf statements, online boycotts, and a final twist that sealed its fate as one of Disney's most chaotic and costly missteps ever. This wasn't just a movie gone wrong. This was a masterclass in how not to handle modern storytelling. The moment Rachel Zegler was announced as the new Snow White, the internet erupted, and not in the way Disney hoped. Critics immediately questioned the casting choice, arguing that she didn't fit the description of skin as white as snow, a core trait of the character in the original fairy tale. Supporters praised the move as inclusive, but a vocal group online saw it as bending the source material too far. Zegler tried to set the record straight, insisting that the adaptation was based on the Grimm brothers' version and not the 1937 Disney classic. But the damage was already done. Social media had latched onto the narrative, and the casting decision was now a full-blown culture war talking point. Then came the interviews. Instead of calming the waters, Zegler poured gasoline on them. In a now infamous press clip, she explained that this new Snow White wouldn't be saved by the prince, and that the classic love story trope was outdated. While the message might have been intended as empowering, the tone came off as dismissive, especially toward the original film, a beloved piece of animation history. Disney fans, many of whom grew up adoring Snow White, felt as though something sacred was being reduced to a joke. It didn't help that Zegler sarcastically referred to Prince Charming as a guy who stalks her, a comment that was instantly clipped, reposted, and dragged across every gossip and pop culture outlet online. And it didn't stop there. Zegler seemed to keep walking into PR landmines. At a press event for another film, when asked what drew her to the role of Snow White, she flatly responded, "I needed a job." Not the most charming answer when you're leading a $250 million Disney reboot. While some chalked it up to youthful honesty, others saw it as ungrateful. And once again, the quote went viral. By this point, the internet had already begun labeling her as entitled, and the momentum against her was building fast. To make matters worse, Disney's attempt at making the film more socially progressive triggered an entirely different backlash. In response to criticism from actor Peter Dinklage, who questioned why Disney was still telling a story about 7 dwarfs living in a cave, the studio announced a new direction. The dwarfs would be replaced with a diverse group of magical creatures of all sizes and genders. While the intention was to be respectful and inclusive, leaked set photos showing the updated ensemble didn't exactly inspire confidence. Critics online compared the cast to a group of off-brand fantasy LARPers, and the photos quickly turned into memes. But the most controversial change? Disney decided to scrap real actors for the 7 characters, and instead use CGI. This move, meant to dodge accusations of stereotyping, backfired spectacularly. Not only were the digital characters described as uncanny and lifeless, but the decision sparked outrage from actors with dwarfism who had hoped to land roles in the film. One actress, Allie Chapman, called the move an insult and said it felt discriminatory to replace real talent with animated versions. There are even talks of a class action lawsuit. What was meant to be a solution only stirred up more frustration. Just when it seemed the project couldn't get more chaotic, reports of behind-the-scenes tension began to surface. Fans pointed out the awkward body language between Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler during interviews. Zegler seemed distant, avoiding eye contact, while Gadot remained composed. Then came the trailer launch, which, instead of focusing on the film, quickly turned political. Zegler ended her thank you message by declaring "Free Palestine," a comment that, while supported by some, ignited a fresh firestorm because her co-star Gadot is Israeli and served in the military. Suddenly, Gadot was receiving alarming threats, and Disney had to assign her a private security detail. A producer even flew across the country to personally speak with Zegler personally and remind her of the magnitude of the project. A post from the producer's son went viral for bluntly stating that Zegler had put her own beliefs above the jobs of thousands who worked on the film. According to him, she jeopardized a massive production for the sake of making a personal political statement. This wasn't the first time Zegler's social media caused headaches. She had previously posted about reproductive rights and presidential elections, making it clear that she expected fans to share her views or unfollow her. While she's absolutely entitled to her opinions, the timing and tone struck many as inappropriate, especially while promoting a children's movie. One post during a past election criticized an entire group of voters and included a dramatic prediction of a world I do not want to live in, even mentioning a fictional daughter, who, she claimed, would be forced to have a baby she didn't want. The emotional language, though passionate, didn't sit well with a segment of the audience, and it invited conservative media to take direct aim at both Zegler and Disney. Eventually, Disney had enough. Zegler reportedly deleted some of her more divisive posts and began working with a social media consultant hired by the studio to review all her online activity before the film's premiere. But the damage was done. By the time Snow White hit theaters on March 21, 2025, it had become one of the most controversial releases in Disney history. The results were brutal. Despite an enormous budget nearing $300 million after reshoots and marketing, the movie opened with just $87.3 million globally. That's a devastating 70% loss, and a sign that audiences weren't just criticizing the movie, they were actively avoiding it. Unlike The Little Mermaid, which managed to gain momentum post-release, Snow White saw no second wind. People had made up their minds long before the opening weekend. In a move that left many scratching their heads, Zegler responded to the failure with a cryptic message comparing herself to the winged victory statue, saying she hoped that, despite my flaws and my cracks and my breaks, people would still line up to see her. To some, this sounded like resilience. To others, it came off as self-absorbed. Critics pointed out that the statement felt tone-deaf in the wake of a film that lost hundreds of millions of dollars and affected the careers of countless crew members and artists who had poured years into its production. Oddly enough, Zegler's actual performance wasn't the weakest part of the movie. Her vocals were praised and her acting was serviceable. But the film around her, the soulless CGI, flat colors, and lack of emotional depth, felt like a corporate product chasing checkboxes. Fans said it lacked the magic of the original. The evil queen wasn't very menacing, the world didn't feel alive, and the beloved characters were sidelined or missing altogether. In the end, this wasn't just a movie that missed the mark, it became a cautionary tale, a reminder that you can't ignore audience sentiment, that PR matters, and that a beloved classic isn't something to rewrite without care. Perhaps most Wednesday Frick. Importantly, it proved that people will take their money elsewhere if they feel unheard. As Disney looks to its future slate of remakes, the lesson here couldn't be clearer. Respect the legacy, respect the fans, and maybe, just maybe, leave Fairy Tales untouched.